Hello, people. Today we are going to be reacting to the 2019 governor's debate. 2021. Wow, I'm dumb. Anyways, this is going to be between Glenn Youngkin and Terry McAuliffe. And the Wikipedia pages I've pulled up are important because it is relevant to point out that these people are historically known as big figures in Virginia for different reasons. Now, if you look over here, you can see that McAuliffe versus Youngkin is a contentious race, even though every single poll that you can see on the screen for RCP has Glenn Youngkin at a severe disadvantage. In fact, the RCP average has Youngkin at 41.5 and McAuliffe at 46.5, which is a 5-point lead for the Democrat. But Trafalgar, which is the best pollster there is within reason, has McAuliffe only winning by 1. So keep that in mind. If we move down, obviously there's going to be a bunch of bullshit clickbait articles that I'm not going to click on anymore because they're no use to me. And I'm going to show you that we're already at a disadvantage as the Republican stands there for election and McAuliffe for re-election. If you didn't know already, Virginia only elects a governor for 4 years at a time. So as you can see here, 2009 was the last time we won the governorship in Virginia. We won by 17 points in the wave year of 2009. And we also barely lost with Ken Cuccinelli, who was Trump's DHS secretary for a while. And basically there, we were able to get within 2.5% of winning, okay? And, of course, the Libertarian has to spoil it either way. Then we move on to the next year of 2017, where we lose the Virginia election by 8%. Now, given that fact, you would think, well, we're fucked. Well, first of all, this election was a couple months after the Charlottesville thing, so I suppose that played a big part into us losing. And of course, we have the future election coming up, and if you can see here, Glenn Youngkin, in terms of stats, is 54 years old, which is a good age for governor, I suppose, from Rice University as well as Harvard. Okay, so that's good optics. He has a net worth of $300 million. You may ask, how do you get there? Well, if you look over here, his father is a basketball player and worked for accounting and finance. And when you move on, he basically went to Norfolk Academy, got a basketball scholarship, ended up in the NCAA Division I, which is pretty impressive. And he got a lot of points, a lot of rebounds, of course. And then he all of a sudden graduated from Rice, enjoyed the investment bank of First Boston, and basically made a lot of connections to the point where he joined the private equity firm called the Carlyle Group. And eventually he became, I believe, CFO, right? Yeah, and basically, yeah, co-CEO, and he's made a lot of money in that respect. He's 6'7" tall, which is really impressive. So again, he's got a lot of stuff going for him. He has money, he has height, status. When you move on over here, we have a contested primary from 2020, but who cares, honestly? And so fuck that. And I'm not going to be bothering talking about that. What I will say, though, is that Terry McAuliffe was governor before, and if you look here, he has a lot of certifications and qualifications. He's 64, so we have him being 10 years older than Youngkin. Not that that really matters. This guy went to Georgetown, so that's pretty impressive. He went to a place called Catholic University, which is weird, and he was DNC chairman, which is important to know 15 years ago, because ostensibly he was able to bankroll the Clintons, and he was fundraising a lot of money for the Clintons, so keep that in mind. Now, his nose is fucking terrible. I just needed to point that out. Now, he was chairman of the National Governors Association, which is pretty interesting. 2016 to 17. He was the governor from 2013 to 17, so interesting. Now, we move on to the presidential elections with Barack Hussein Obama and Mitchell Romney, and you can see right now that he's necessarily beating Romney by about 4. Okay, so we're looking at the elections from the last 10 years. We see Trump losing to Hillary by about 5, okay, and we move on to 2020, which of course we know what happened, but either way, it has the official result as Trump losing by 10. So if you look there, Virginia voted about 5 points to the left of the country, whereas in 2016 it only voted about 2 to 3 points to the left of the country. So keep that in mind. So essentially, what I'm saying is that it's trending left, and it's undebatably trending left, and you can conclude that it's mostly because of the suburbs over here in the DC area, Nova County. So yes, over here the northeastern part, not so much the southeast nor the southwest, of course, more rural Appalachian area. Anyway, we move on to the actual debate. I've taken long enough. I've taken almost 5 minutes of your time just explaining the backstory and the lore about this. So let's get into this right now.
Welcome. I'm Susan Page of USA Today. It's my honor to moderate this important event, the first debate in this year's gubernatorial contest in Virginia. We're joined tonight by the two major candidates to be the next governor of the Commonwealth. former Governor Terry McAuliffe, the Democratic nominee, and business executive Glenn Youngkin, the Republican nominee. Thank you for being here, gentlemen. Joining me on the panel are Candace Burns, anchor at WTVR CBS 6 News in Richmond, and Dr. Bob Halsworth, founding director of the Center for Public Policy and the Wilder School of Government and Public Affairs at Virginia Commonwealth University. The three of us will pose questions following rules that were negotiated by the two campaigns and the Appalachian School of Law. These are the time limits the candidates agreed to honor. 60 seconds for a candidate to respond to a question, then 60 seconds for the other candidate to respond to the same question or a related one posed by a panelist, then 30 seconds for a follow-up by the first.
Who fucking cares? Anyways, my prediction so far is that we are basically going to see the debate be probably won by Youngkin, but given the circumstances of probably the moderator not being fair and a lot of other bullshit, I feel like he's going to lose politically out of this because, again, he's the underdog and he's in a blue state, so he has to look pretty moderate in order to win this. And so they're going to try to screw him over with, like, the voter F word as well as, the election and January 6th and, are you a Trump candidate and all that garbage. So best believe that's going to happen. Okay, so let's move back a little bit and let this woman speak, okay?
12,000 people in Virginia have died from COVID-19. As a result of a coin toss, we'll start with Mr. Youngkin. Mr. Youngkin, more than 12,000 people in Virginia have died from COVID-19, and more than 800,000 have been diagnosed with the virus. After some progress, the Delta variant has made things worse. President Biden last week ordered sweeping new vaccination requirements affecting federal employees, private companies with 100 or more employees, and others. Most Republican governors have vowed to challenge the constitutionality of his actions. My question, as governor, would you challenge Biden's mandates in court? And would you urge companies in Virginia to comply with or to defy the president's mandates affecting their workers? You have 60 seconds.
Great. Thank you, Susan. And this is an incredibly important topic right now. Let me just start with my position on vaccines. I have been a strong advocate for everyone to get the vaccine. I do believe that individuals should be allowed to make that decision on their own. But that's why I launched a public service announcement to encourage people to get the vaccine. I believe that right now we face a real difference between my opponent and me. Although just 5 weeks ago, he was pretty much in my same position, encouraging businesses to in fact make their own decision. But he changed that position, I think, when it became politically expedient. I think what we need to do right now is make sure that everyone in Virginia understands that getting the vaccine is the most important thing we can do. That's why I invited Terry to actually do a PSA with me.
Okay, he's already fucking losing because the whole thing is predicated on, okay, we're going to mandate it so that we can get people safe through inoculation from the vaccine. So if you're already saying, well, I believe in the vaccine, there's no consequences from getting it, then why not just mandate it? Oh, my freedoms. Well, who cares about your freedoms if there's no consequence of getting the vaccine, just benefits? So, come on. So if my contention is don't eat the candy, it might have a razor in it, and you're saying, well, look, look, kids, I think all the candies are fine. There's no razors in them. Just, you don't have to force to be eaten. You shouldn't compel people to eat them. What's the disagreement then? I mean, if there's no consequence, who cares about the constitutionality, really? The reason why you shouldn't mandate them is because you don't know what the consequences are. There are probably side effects, so why would you do that? Why would you promote that for people that are young? And yet Youngkin, being an asshole, being an opportunist, and even naive perhaps, is full-throating the vaccine to his detriment because the Trump approach is probably the best, where it's kind of nonchalant, pointing the hypocrisy of the left, but also not contesting the vaccine that you yourself created and promoted. So he probably ought to be doing that politically. I don't think him singing the praises of the vaccine will get him any credit at all with the fucking moderates of Virginia, believe it or not. And another issue we have with Glenn Youngkin is his eyes. His eyes aren't pointed as strongly as they could. They're not hunter eyes. They're not... When you look at Glenn, he doesn't look scary even though he's tall. So, I mean, that's a deficit he has.
So we encourage all Virginians to get the vaccine. When I'm leading Virginia, we're going to make sure that Virginians understand the best way to keep themselves healthy. We're going to provide all the best information, and we're going to encourage Virginians
Mr.
to take
Youngkin, your
action.
time is up.
Thank you.
Just very quickly, yes or no, would you challenge the constitutionality of Biden's mandates in court?
Yeah, I don't believe that President Biden has the authority to dictate to everyone that we have to take the vaccine.
So is that
I would
yes?
encourage everyone to get the vaccine, but I don't believe he has the authority to do so.
Mr. McAuliffe, you have set a goal that every child in Virginia be vaccinated, but you wouldn't mandate it. You leave that to the school districts to decide. But Virginia, the state, already requires students to have 11 different vaccinations at various ages to attend school. COVID is a more dangerous health threat to them today than polio or some of those other diseases. So my question is, should the state add COVID to that list? That is, require all students who are age appropriate to get a COVID shot too? You have 60 seconds.
First of all,
So already it's a biased debate. Why? Because she's basically explaining the rationale for why he would support whatever she's saying, right? So, given the fact that that what I'm gonna propose is completely logical according to the facts I just pull out of my ass, would you agree with what I just said? Again, very biased. It's like if I said, given the fact that Mexicans commit more crime and illegal aliens are causing a lot of problems, would you agree with building a wall on the border, Mr. President? Well, see, that's basically what you're doing. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to give a set of facts and just assume they're right and then have them work off of that. That shouldn't be the case at all, honestly. It's biased as fuck. And it's very disingenuous to say, oh, COVID is more deadly than polio right now. And it's like, yeah, because if polio is, let's say, a 1 in a 10 million of dying, and COVID is 1 in 1 million, that's still infinitesimal either way. But oh my god, it's several times more deadly. Yeah, so fucking what, bro? You're several times more likely to die from falling down a set of stairs than you are getting struck by lightning. That doesn't mean that you should be worried about falling and breaking your neck going downstairs. Okay, so two small things could still be small despite one being a lot bigger than the other one. Grain of sand is a lot bigger than, an atom, yet they're both infinitesimally small, and I don't give a shit either way. So again, the polio isn't as bad as COVID. Okay, well, even if that's the case, I don't care about COVID either way. Okay, so come on.
I've been very upfront on people getting vaccinations. I've called for employers to mandate it for their employees. I've called for everyone who works in a hospital to be vaccinated. I've called for every individual who works at a long-term care facility or a nursing home, everybody who works in K-12, everybody who attends higher ed. I have been very strong on this from day one. And Glenn and I differ on this issue. His anti-vax, what he has said, he's had rhetoric out there. He told college students, if you don't want to take the vaccine, just fill out an exemption. I think that's life-threatening, and I think that's disqualifying.
So that sort of hand gesture, he's just making shit up. He's like, well, he did this, and, bada boom, bada boom. He's lying already, man. Come on.
As governor, he doesn't believe in forcing people to understand what COVID is going to do to the state and to this country. It's still raging all across the country. Right here in this county, all the ICU beds are full. So I am for requiring mandate vaccinations. He's not. He likes to do PSAs. PSAs aren't going to get you anything. I want everybody to be vaccinated here in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Mr. McCullough, your time is up. So yes or no, would you add COVID?
That's honestly a good piece of rhetoric. Is he's going to do a PSA. He isn't going to do shit, because if most of the people of Virginia are for the the full forced government vaccination program, then just this dilly dabbling, like, well, it's okay, but like I have some criticisms about, like, come on, that's not going to appeal to anybody, man.
To the list of required vaccines for students
well,
in
above the age
Virginia?
of 12, we don't know. The FDA has not done the analysis under 12, so we couldn't do that. But I want everybody to be vaccinated. I have been very
So for
strong.
students above the age of 12, would you support adding the COVID vaccine as a
Absolutely.
requirement, as a state requirement?
I want everybody vaccinated. This COVID is not going away. You hear
All right.
stories, we could be here for 18 months. I'm showing leadership. I'm not doing PSAs.
Thank you.
I'm telling you, let's get everybody
Thank you, Mr.
vaccinated.
McCullough. Mr. Youngkin, let me give you 30 seconds to respond.
Thank you. What you're going to hear tonight from my opponent is going to be a series of lies and excuses and radical positions. And he just started. He's told a lot of lies about my positions during this campaign. He just told the biggest one. My position on the vaccine has been very clear. I absolutely encourage all Virginians to get the vaccine. And we'll go to work together to make sure that you have all the information you need to feel good about it. My opponent has said he wants to make life difficult for people who don't get the vaccine. I think Virginians
Mr.
have suffered
Youngkin,
enough
your
not to have
time's
a
up.
governor make their life difficult. First of all,
Mr. McCullough,
I said it was not true.
Very calculated, very obviously calculated. He's already fucking up. He's looking. Part of the appeal should be, I'm calm, but I'm an outsider. I'm calm. I have the money. I have the gravitas. I have the competence. This idiot, this radical doesn't have what it takes. He's washed up. But he's going in already saying, well, I agree with all the fundamentals of you. I just disagree with the implementation. Well, then what's really the big deal here? I mean, you're going to fucking lose then, bro. Come on, seriously. You can run the best campaign, but as long as you're playing it safe, you're not going to win here. Okay, I'm sorry.
You have 30 seconds to
Sure,
respond.
he's not requiring vaccinations. That is the difference between the two of us. Asking to do a PSA is a political stunt. It's a political stunt. This is a tough job being governor. Your job is to keep folks safe. He's denying that he told college students to fill out an exemption. That's not true. We'll release my campaign. We'll release the tape right now as we speak. He's telling college students, if you don't want to get it, don't get it. Do an exemption for whatever reason. That is disqualifying in my book. You got to stand up
Mr.
and show
McCullough, your time
leadership.
is up.
So he's got 15 seconds.
Yes, 15 seconds to respond.
First of all, he called me
Mr.
anti-vax. That's a lie. I'm not anti-vax. In fact, he appointed a woman to the George Mason board that was absolutely anti-vax. And the only reason he did it is because she gave him hundreds of thousands of dollars for his campaign. His position flip-flops based on who's paying him. And in this case, I support the vaccine. I stand up for the vaccine.
Mr. Youngkin,
but I
your time is
respect
up.
The amount of blinking from McAuliffe means that that was the
Individuals'
truth.
We want to go on to the next topic. I do want to get
He's
Mr.
not
McCullough 15
requiring
seconds to
mandates. So we should
respond.
all understand where we are. It's all fluff words. PSAs. Who cares about a PSA? Half the people don't even know who you are on TV. I am for mandating vaccinations for people
What
who
an
teach our children in
asshole.
school, for children who go in higher ed, hospitals, nursing homes. I want you
Your
vaccinated.
time is up. And we're going to go to the next question. Candace Burns will ask that.
Thanks, Suzanne. Mr. McAuliffe, the pandemic revealed major problems within the Virginia Employment Commission. The agency has been overwhelmed with claims, and newsrooms around the Commonwealth have been inundated with calls and emails. We're hearing from frustrated Virginians in need of emergency benefits, and they have been left in limbo with no explanation. While the VEC says it has cleared a backlog of appeals, thousands are still waiting for their cases to be reviewed. The agency faces a class action lawsuit. How can you assure
Okay, this is how you lose the election. I would be like, hey, I'm Governor Youngkin. Hey, I'm Glenn Youngkin, and you look pretty good for a black girl. Hey, you're a pretty black girl, huh? I don't see them around, huh? Damn, imagine Glenn. See, Glenn isn't getting that southern vote, bro. He's not getting that rural Virginian, West Virginian vote. He's definitely not. Glenn is playing it way too safe, man. I'm just saying.
Virginians that the VEC will be fixed and will be held accountable when another disaster occurs?
Sure, and I'll make sure all of our agencies work as I did last time. I worked in a bipartisan way with my Republican legislature. We worked together on transportation, veterans affairs, education. That's why so many Republicans have endorsed me already. And we worked together in fixing transportation when we had a broken agency. We came up with Smart Scale, which became the model for the rest of the United States of America. So I will invest time, resources, whatever we need if there was a problem before. I remind you, when I came into government before, our economy was in chaos. I created 200,000 new high-paying jobs, personal income went up 14%. I got thousands of people healthcare. I leaned in to lift up everyone's life. So my first goal will be to get everybody off of unemployment, but if those that may need it, we're going to fix any agency. I did this in a bipartisan way. That's why so many Republicans have endorsed my candidacy for governor.
Mr. Youngkin?
Yes, well, what we've seen over the course of this pandemic is a failed rollout of the vaccine, where Virginia was ranked 50th in the rollout of the vaccine. And then we've seen the Virginia Employment Commission that's supposed to be there in order to support those Virginians, 1.8 million Virginians who had to file for first-time unemployment benefits during this pandemic, who couldn't get claims processed. It took a Supreme Court ruling to get them to go to work. I believe this is what you get when you, in fact, put people into these jobs that have never run a business, never run anything in their life.
There you go.
I'm going to go to work on day one. We're going to make government work for Virginians. And on day one, we're going to go to work on the Virginia Employment Commission, and we're going to go to work on the DMV. And we're going to introduce the concept of customer service, not flawed process that actually processed $50 million of false claims and couldn't process the ones that legitimate Virginians who needed help could get. This is what
Okay,
we're
now
here
he's
to
in
fix
his
problems,
zone.
and I'm going to go to work fixing problems.
Thank you. You want a 30-second?
30 seconds.
Sure, thank you. I have a record of creating jobs. Glenn Youngkin was at the Carlyle Group before they threw him out. What did he do? They bought mobile homes. They raised the rents. People had to make a decision: do I pay my rent or do I buy my food? They bought nursing homes. They neglected seniors. People died, including 5 right here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I have a record of creating high-paying jobs. Your record at Carlyle is outsourcing jobs to foreign countries. That's your record. We don't need that here in the
The biggest Clinton donor to ever exist says, oh, he outsourced jobs. Like, okay, cry me a fucking river, you fucking hypocrite, heretic. Oh, my God. Anyways, this guy has no appeal, by the way. He's like Bill de Blasio level of like charisma, which is just like negative, dark triad charisma. Bruh. Anyways, he definitely is just exaggerating about the Carlyle Group. Like, oh, all he did was before. He's so evil that he got kicked out of the evil corporation. Like, what? Like, what? Get fucking
Commonwealth of
real,
Virginia.
bruh.
Go big.
Mr.
Create
McCullough,
jobs.
Mr.
Personal income will
McCullough,
go up as it did before.
Your time is up.
Susan, can I have 30 seconds, please?
Candace,
Candace, can I have 30 seconds, please?
Absolutely.
Again, Mr. McAuliffe is very comfortable telling lies. I mean, these concepts are bogus. I mean, the reality is that he felt so good about the Carlyle Group that he invested millions of dollars of his money that Bill Clinton let him scrape off of the money he was raising for the Clinton Foundation. Terry, thank you for the big endorsement. Thank you. And if you can trust me with your money, the rest of Virginia can trust me
It
too.
wasn't you I trusted because I lost it. But
All right,
It
Mr.
wasn't you.
Youngkin, your time is up.
It wasn't-
That's a burn. That's a good burn because he's saying, wow, you're talking shit about the Carlyle Group, but you spent millions of dollars fundraiser money that you scraped off because you're a fucking leech off of Bill Clinton in order to invest into Carlyle or to buy their real estate or whatever else. And ostensibly, you know, you bought that and he's like, well, no, but I lost it because of you guys. It's like, okay, so you're conceding that it actually happened. You're not even going to debate it, bro. Like, come on.
It's a good investment, let me tell you that.
It was an
But just look at the history
incredible
of Carlyle. I mean, come on.
Thank you.
And I will say this: when he was at
Mr.
Carlyle,
McAuliffe, no, I'm sorry,
who did
Mr.
he
McAuliffe,
praise
your
as
time
being a
is
great
expired.
governor? He praised Terry McAuliffe.
One of these aren't the rules that Bob or Candace and I made up. These are the rules that your campaigns negotiated with response to this debate.
I'm about to ask you 30 more seconds.
I'm worried about you. I think you're up on
We're
two
gonna
wheels.
have
I'll see all 4 wheels on the
Bob
top.
Halsworth is going to pose the next
Next thing you're
question.
going to be yelling at a sheriff.
We'll settle down for a
Especially after
minute.
Washington
We're in a
Post.
region of Virginia this evening that hasn't shared in the Commonwealth prosperity. So I'd like to ask you about coal, climate change, and strategy for revitalizing the Southwest economy.
Yes.
The Assembly passed and Governor Northam signed the Clean Economy Act, mandating zero carbon emissions by 2050, a goal your opponent would move to 2035. Would you, if you were governor, have signed the Clean Economy Act? And could you explain for people in most specific terms how your plans for the Southwest Virginia economic recovery would differ from that of Governors Northam and McAuliffe?
Yes, well, thank you for that most important question. And I am incredibly humbled to be here tonight because in this part of Virginia, what we have seen is a dramatic lack of participation support from Richmond. In fact, just last week, I was in Hurley visiting with all those just terribly, terribly unfortunate people who lost their homes. In fact, there was even a death. Richmond has to go to work for Southwest Virginia and has not done it so far. There are incredible opportunities here to grow the economy, to in fact invest in new jobs, and we just haven't seen Richmond deliver. We should be a hub for logistics. We must in fact invest in infrastructure, broadband across Southwest Virginia. The Coalfield Expressway has to be completed so that we can become a center of commerce. But we have to go to work and not just give empty promises. And that's what I'm going to do as governor of Virginia. I'm going to go to work for Southwest Virginia.
Can I just ask,
Meh. Safe answer. Nothing profound here. Oh, broadband. Like, really? Is that going to... Oh, yeah, I'm going to invest into, you know, bumfuck nowhere, Virginia, because they used to have a coal town here that was relevant in the 1930s, and they have internet finally. Like, come on. What a
one part
joke.
of the question again, would you have signed the Clean
Just
Economy
admit
Act as
these
governor?
No, sir, I
societies
wouldn't
are going to
have.
die
I believe that, in
off.
fact, we can
Jeez.
tackle bringing down emissions in Virginia without putting forth a plan that not even executives at the utilities believe is doable. It's going to, in fact, increase Virginians' bills by up to $1,000 a year. It puts our entire energy grid at risk, all in play for some political purpose. I believe
Thank you, Mr. Youngkin.
I believe in all energy sources. We can use wind and solar, but we need to preserve our clean natural gas.
One minute
And
for
we
Mr.
can, in
McAuliffe.
fact,
I can cut you off
have a
now.
reliable energy grid.
Relax, man. I want you to pass out.
Mr. McAuliffe.
Yes, of course I would sign it. If you look at my plan, I'm calling for clean energy by 2035. And when I think of clean energy, I think of jobs. I mean, we're talking thousands and thousands of new jobs. That's what I think of when I think of clean energy. That is our future. When I was governor, I signed the first offshore federal lease for wind turbines. And guess what? We have 2 turbines right now, 27 miles off the coast of Virginia Beach, lighting up 3,000 homes. We have 4 permits in front of the BOEM. When they get approved in 3 years, we'll have 200,000 wind turbines bob out there, lighting up 500,000 homes. But my goal, I want to see us take that Portsmouth Marine Terminal, ensuring.
How does that even make any sense mathematically? Also, look how creepy his face looks. He looks like a transvestite ghost. Seriously, like, tell me you don't look at like some like this does not look like a Scottish lady. That's an elderly Scottish lady from the 1600s in drag. Tell me this isn't what you're looking at right now. Anyway, he definitely doesn't have the charisma of Bubba Bill here, man. He's just getting cucked. And when you look at the facts, we had 2 turbines powered 3,000 homes, and then we could in the future have 2,000 turbines power 500,000 homes, right? Numbers don't even add up at all. where the fuck are these turbines going to be put? They lower the value of wherever they're put, right? I mean, like, who's going to agree for you to put it there? Eminent domain? What's going on, man? Come on.
Into the green energy manufacturing hub. That will help all parts of Virginia. Will help here in Southwest Virginia. I was very proud when I was governor. I brought unemployment down in every single city and county in Virginia. Every rural county saw their unemployment drop by nearly 50%. I'm very proud. But in order to do that, we got to have vaccines. People have got to be vaccinated. And as
Mr.
governor,
McAuliffe,
I
your
will
time
get
is up.
people vaccinated.
Thank you.
Quick follow-up,
Sure.
Mr. McAuliffe.
Yes.
A number of delegates here have expressed reservations about some of the claims the Democrats have made about the possibility of green jobs revitalizing the economy here. What's your sense of that in this region?
Huge opportunity for us here in this region. What we need to do is be manufacturing. Right now, what they do with a lot of the blades, turbines, and poles, they're manufactured in Europe, and then they're brought over by ship to New York, assembled. Forget that. I want them all assembled here. Let's build a major, down at Portsmouth. I think we can build the biggest in the United States of America. Those jobs will be, Bob, throughout the entire Commonwealth of Virginia. The welders, electricians, everything we need. So we can become the hub, and we will be the hub when I'm governor. I believe in clean energy. When Trump pulled us out of the Paris
Thank you, Mr.
Climate
McAuliffe.
Agreement, that was bad for
Thank you.
America.
30 seconds for Mr. Young.
Yeah, thank you. We
Okay. Why? Again, this is sort of like the shift in the political nomenclature because Trump basically popularized the pseudo-populism or like this notion that everything has to be built here. And even the Democrats are starting to, like, oh, you're outsourcing companies. Oh, you're a globalist and all that. Like Trump's living rent free in these people's heads. They wouldn't have said this 10 years ago, which I find interesting. And another thing you have to bring up here is that it's a missed opportunity for Glenn Youngkin because he's saying what he should be saying is these people planned for your demise this entire time. They signed NAFTA knowing it would kill your industry. They regulated your natural gas out of existence, made you lose your job, made you go on welfare just so they can control you more. And now they're saying that they will employ you in their own government mandated jobs where they're going to force an experimental vaccine on you just for the sake of control. That would be badass if he actually said that all in an articulate sense, but of course he won't say that.
see real challenges in getting to the goals that have been set
man,
in
I
the
feel like
original
I'm sick.
Virginia Clean Economy Act, and my opponent wants to accelerate them and destabilize our entire energy grid. We've seen what happens in California when, in fact, you don't have a reliable energy grid. So if you like what you just heard from my opponent, get ready for blackouts and brownouts and an unreliable energy grid. We can do this with common sense. We should embrace all energy sources. Yes, wind.
Look at
yes,
his head
solar.
gestures.
We can't dismantle a reliable, clean,
Mr.
burning,
Youngkin, your time is
inexpensive
up.
natural gas.
Thank you.
Mr. McAuliffe, Virginia law now bans abortions in the third trimester of a pregnancy unless 3 doctors certify the pregnancy would likely kill the woman or substantially impair her health. Some critics say this puts an undue burden on those in rural areas where doctors often are scarce. There has been a proposal to reduce the number of doctors required to 1 and to change the medical standard to the damage of a woman's health. So here's my question.
Sure.
If the Virginia
Come
legislature
on.
passed that proposal, would you sign it into law? You have 60 seconds.
So the issue here is, in order for a woman to get an abortion in the third trimester, you have to have a primary doctor certified, and then you have to have 2 other doctors. The problems you have in rural parts of our state is there are not 3 doctors. So that really puts women in rural communities at a real disadvantage. So if they came up with a solution, a woman's life has to be,
2 of
has
them
to be
that
certified.
need
If
to
you have a
get
legitimate doctor
abortions, come
that says
on.
this woman, her life's in danger, of course I would support that. I'll do anything I can. And that's the difference. My opponent, as you know, wants to ban abortions. He has said that. He got caught secretly on tape saying, I will go on offense. I will go on offense to defund Planned Parenthood and ban abortions. And then he said, oh, but we're not going to tell the voters about it because if they find out, the independents won't vote for me. But don't worry, I won't go squish you. I can tell you this, to women watching tonight, I was a brick wall. I kept our 16 women's clinics open when I was governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. And if we allow this Texas law, I can tell you this, Amazon, Google, Facebook.
Thank you,
It's dangerous
Mr.
for a woman's life, but it also is crippling to the Virginia economy.
Thank you,
Not
Mr.
bring these
McAuliffe.
high-tech companies here.
Mr. Youngkin, in recent years, 8 states have enacted bans on abortions after a fetal heartbeat can be detected at about the 6th week of pregnancy. Most of them have been blocked by the courts, but this month, a Texas ban did go into effect. The Texas law includes controversial enforcement provisions. I am not asking about those. Here is my question. If the Virginia legislature passed a fetal heartbeat ban on abortion, one that included the exceptions you support for rape, incest, and to preserve the life of the mother, would you sign it into law? You have 60 seconds.
Thank you, Susan. This is an incredibly sensitive and personal topic.
Okay, how would you answer this? I mean, okay, politically, the best thing for him to do is just completely dodge the question because I don't think that, being strong on the issue would help him politically. But honestly, yeah, obviously you have to support the Texas law. But yeah, no, what he should do is completely skirt the question because taking a strong position either way is going to make him lose votes.
And I do appreciate the fact that you would like to write legislation with me. I think the Texas bill is one that is the standard right now that we're all looking at. And I would not sign the Texas bill today. As I've said through this entire campaign, I'm pro-life.
Oh,
I believe in
fuck.
exceptions in the case of rape and incest and when the life of the mother is in jeopardy. But the Texas bill also is unworkable and confusing. What we're not doing this evening is talking to my opponent about his extreme views. See, my opponent doesn't want to talk about this topic tonight because he actually called legislation that would enable abortion paid for with taxpayer money all the way up through and including birth, where a child is kept comfortable while a decision is made whether that child lives or dies. He called that legislation common sense legislation and said he would sign it. Friends, my opponent wants to be the abortion governor, and I want to be the jobs governor.
Mr. Youngkin, your time is up.
Let's
Mr. Youngkin, I just
fucking
want to be clear.
go.
You said you wouldn't sign a Texas
Let's
law, but I'm not
go.
asking about the Texas law. I'm asking about a law that bans abortion when a fetal heartbeat can be detected and a law that includes the exceptions you support for rape, incest, and to preserve the life of the mother. Would you sign that law?
Susan, we can sit down and write legislation together. What I have said is that I do believe that a pain threshold bill legislation would be appropriate. But again, I do hope that you'll ask my opponent what objections he has to where abortion should be stopped, so that we can all understand his extreme views.
Mr. McCullough, you have 30
you
seconds.
satisfied with that answer? I'm just...
Well, I think that's the answer I'm going to get. So,
So here's why I'm very clear. And I'll say this again to every woman watching tonight. I will protect your rights. I believe a woman ought to make a decision about her own reproductive rights. And I will support those, and I was a brick wall while I was governor. I vetoed all the bills that he would have proposed that ban abortion and defund Planned Parenthood. I support the laws that we have on the books today. I would like to see, because I am terrified today about what's happened with the Trump Supreme Court. I am terrified today that they will roll back Roe v. Wade. So I would like to see, the only change I'd like to see is enshrining Roe v.
First
Wade
Trump
in the Virginia
mentioned
Constitution.
so far.
Thank
You have 30
15
seconds, Mr. Youngkin.
Again, my opponent's very comfortable not letting truth get in the way of anything he says. I mean, just this week, the Washington Post gave him more Pinocchios in his characterization of my position. As I have said, I'm pro-life. I believe in exceptions for rape and incest when the mother's life is at risk. As I said, I would not sign the Texas bill. My opponent ignores the truth. He's the most extreme pro-abortion candidate in America today. And he's marketing Virginia as a place to come get an abortion, as opposed to a place to
Youngkin,
come
your time
do
is up.
business.
Susan,
I'm going to be the
Mr.
jobs
Youngkin,
governor.
thank you.
Can I respond?
You have 15 seconds, Mr.
I support
McCullough.
the laws. I support a woman's right to make her own decisions through a second trimester. That's what I support. And guess what? 80% of Virginians agree with what I just said. They do not agree with Glenn Youngkin, who got secretly caught on tape saying he will ban abortions and defund Planned Parenthood. He told his closest
Mr.
supporters
McCullough,
he'll
your
go
time
on
is
offense.
up.
I'll go on offense for jobs. He'll go on offense
Mr.
to ban
McCullough, your time is
abortions.
up. Thank you. At this point, the candidates have a chance to ask each other questions. Each candidate has 15 seconds to ask a question. Then the other candidate has 60 seconds to respond to it. As a result of a
Youngkin came
coin toss,
out winning
Mr.
out
McCullough
of
will ask
that
his question first.
exchange,
Mr. McCullough, you have 15
honestly.
seconds.
When I was
He
at a
answered
Berlin the
very
other day,
well.
cancer facility, patients there, they're on chemo, they're getting radiation, they're immunocompromised. Do you believe that that nurse who was there treating that immunocompromised cancer patient, should she be required to be vaccinated? Not a PSA required.
Yeah, I think that nurse should fully understand that getting the vaccination is the best way to protect her health and those around her. Of course, what's happened in our hospital system, and I have spoken with heads of hospital systems all over Virginia, and what they know is they've fought the spread of COVID with policies, with procedures, with testing, not with mandates. And here we go again. My opponent wants to mandate. I respect your ability to make decisions because that's what leaders do. If you disagree with Terry McAuliffe, like he said on TV, he's going to make your life difficult. He wants to make Virginians' life difficult right now. And yet we need to come together and live and work together through this pandemic. And the last thing we need is a governor who's going to go to work to make everyone's life difficult.
I guess the
Mr.
answer is
Youngkin,
no.
you now have 15 seconds to pose a question to Mr. McCullough.
Great. Terry, you appointed Adrian Bennett, chair
Whoa,
of the
whoa,
roll.
whoa, whoa. Whoa, look at his posture. Look at the posture change on the left, bro. What the fuck happened here?
I guess the
Mr.
answer is
Youngkin,
no.
you now have 15 seconds to pose a question to
Watch this. 3, 2, 1.
Mr. McCullough.
Great. Terry, you appointed Adrian Bennett, chair of your parole board. Inspector General
Look how he tightens up. What a smug asshole.
report came out and said they violated
This
state
guy.
law. And she wrote emails that said, wave your wand of power, cut them loose. If you could do it all over again, would you appoint her chair of your parole board?
Listen, if anyone's in any position in Virginia, if someone did something inappropriate, as I have governor, people would be removed. I mean, I haven't been governor for 4 years, as you know. I always invested in parole. I put more resources in it. I try to lift everybody up. That's why when I was governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, I had the lowest recidivism rate of any state in the United States of America. I also had the lowest crime rate of any major state in America. So I would always bring the resources to bear. And Glenn, if something went wrong, I would fix it. That's what I always did on every agency that we had. And that's the difference between you and me. I mean, your plans, your economic plans would run Virginia into a ditch. 3 independent studies have just come out. You'd cut $10 billion from education. 43,000 teachers would lose their jobs. That's not how you lift up Virginia. You've said the most
Base?
important issue facing Virginia is election integrity. Those are your
Unemployed
words.
teacher
I don't think that's
sounds
the most
like a
important issue,
good
election
idea.
integrity. That's the Trump
Sounds
crazy
like the
2020 stuff.
ideal
I think the most important
economy,
issue
bro.
facing us is job creation. And that's what I'm going to work on. I'm going to make sure every one of our state agencies.
Thank you,
is
Mr.
funded.
McCullough.
Thank you.
We're going to take a 90-second break. Then we'll be back with more questions for Terry McAuliffe and Glenn Youngkin.
90-second break. What the fuck? Skip. So far, Glenn Youngkin is winning. Like, overall, politically, he's winning. Now,
after
again,
George Floyd's
is he
murder-
winning on the issues? I mean, yeah, obviously, like, the left is ridiculous. But, you know, is he based? No. Closeted? Probably based, honestly.
Widespread demonstration called for police reform and transparency. Both of you have promised to bring people together while keeping Virginia
pretty
safe.
cute,
That requires
honestly, for
trust
a
and
black
accountability.
girl. I'm not
In March,
gonna
former
lie.
law enforcement officials from across the country and the Law Enforcement Action Partnership wrote a letter to Congress calling for an end to qualified immunity for police officers. They argue police need the trust of the people they serve, but they say people don't trust law enforcement because they do not believe police are held accountable. They point to the qualified immunity doctrine, a controversial policy that protects officers accused of violating the Constitution while on duty. Mr. Youngkin, you have promised to oppose all efforts to end qualified immunity for law enforcement in the Commonwealth. What then is your plan to restore and maintain trust in communities where police serve, and how would you make certain that officers who violate the civil rights of citizens are held accountable?
Yes, thank you for this most important question, because Virginia today is at a 20-year high in murder rate. Now, my opponent's not surprised by that, because when he was governor, the murder rate went up 43%. We
Is
see
that
across
true?
law
Wow.
enforcement agencies in the Commonwealth of Virginia an absolute depletion of resources, manpower shortages, equipment shortages. We have a funding problem, but we also have a morale problem. Qualified immunity protects law enforcement heroes from frivolous civil lawsuits, not when they're dereliction of duty, and I haven't met a single law enforcement hero who does not want to root out bad police. But we're going to protect qualified immunity, and my opponent is going to get rid of it. That's why 50 sheriffs endorsed me, 50. And that's why my opponent only has 4. It's because law enforcement trusts me to stand up for safe communities and
That's a
invest
good
the funds
number.
necessary to make Virginia safe again.
Mr. McAuliffe, would you end qualified immunity?
No, I would not end it. It's called qualified immunity for a reason. Any officer who's acting in good faith should and will have the full protections of the Commonwealth of Virginia. You don't want anyone going out there putting their lives at risk and us not having their back. So, but if you have a law enforcement officer who breaks the law, that's where qualified immunity ends. That's why we call it qualified immunity. But I will always step up and protect our law enforcement because they're out there every day protecting.
So his position is literally what the status quo is, and he just worded it in a way that didn't make it seem that way, right?
us. When I was governor, I did the compression pay, about $14 million for the sheriffs. I got 1,000 sheriffs off of SNAP benefits. I gave pay raises for law enforcement as well as the state police. I leaned in every day. And guess what? That's why I'm the only governor in Virginia history to be named an honorary sheriff. I was very proud of the Sheriff's Association gave me that award. But the most important thing is that when I was governor, we had the lowest crime rate of any major state in the United States of America. Not second, not third, the lowest. Why? I invested, lifted up, helped our
Mr.
law
McCullough, your
enforcement
time
community,
is
and
up.
brought communities together.
Thank you, Mr. McCullough.
Mr. Youngkin, you have 30 seconds.
Yeah, so again, when I started, you'll hear lies, excuses, and extreme policies. And what my opponent has done is completely recanted on what he said when he was trying to get the nomination, which is he would in fact reform or remove qualified immunity. This is why the law enforcement community doesn't trust him. Standing up for Virginians is more than just rhetoric and political statements. It's about actions. And that's why the law enforcement community trusts me. We're going to go to work together to invest in law enforcement, bring communities together, and reestablish Virginia as one of the safest places in America, as opposed to having 4 of the most deadliest cities in America today.
Mr. Youngkin, your time is up.
Mr. McAuliffe?
All I can speak to my record. As I say, we have the lowest crime rate in America. I got the awards from Sheriff's Association as well as the state police and others. I work very closely. That lowest crime rate in America. And what I worry about, if you look at his economic plan, Washington Post wrote about it the other day, it will defund the police. His cuts will be so severe that $250 million will be cut from the sheriffs and $138 million will be cut from law enforcement. That's what you're going to get. Washington Post just wrote this the other day. 3 independent analyses have come out on his economic plan. That's why the Post today said, if you vote for Glenn Youngkin, you are making a grave error.
This whole police debate is asinine. Oh, the Republicans going to cut the police? Really? Really? You're going to say that? It's like saying, the Democrats are going to cut your entitlement. What the what?
Candace, go ahead, 15 seconds, please.
No.
Shut the fuck up, dude. You're
Yes,
confusing
Bob Holsworth
everybody.
will ask the next question. Thank you.
Mr. McAuliffe, your position on the budget and taxes are starkly different from Mr. Youngkin, who's endorsed a series of tax rebates and rollbacks, along with new restrictions on the fiscal authority of local government in raising property taxes. Could you explain why you're not proposing tax reductions, and exactly what's at stake in this election for the future of the Commonwealth as voters choose between your competing ideas?
Well, first of all, the governor doesn't do property taxes. That's a local issue. So let me just say, what I'll do as governor is build a boom economy as I did before. Created a large amount of revenue. I left with a big surplus. When I came into office, I had to call the legislators into special session who were here. I had to raise a $2.4 billion hole in our budget. I ended up leaving a big surplus, growing the economy. But if you look at Glenn's plan, it's been ridiculed. Roanoke Times, right up the street, said it would run our economy into the ditch. Washington Post said it would run our economy into the ditch. His plan would take $10 billion out of education. It would cut 43,000 teachers. Right here in this county. 266 teachers would be lost. $250 million in cuts to our sheriffs, to our law enforcement, $138 million. These aren't my words. 3 independent reports have just come out. So you can come out and make all these, big pie in the sky. His advisor is Donald Trump, this guy Stephen Moore. So,
Mr. McAuliffe, your time is up.
Trump did to the country, and now they want to bring that to Virginia. That's not
Thank you,
gonna
Mr.
happen.
McAuliffe.
Mr. Youngkin, 1 minute.
Thank you. So, God made me with a big nose.
So Trump
But Terry McAuliffe has
mentioned
wrapped up so many Pinocchios, I'm afraid you can't fit in the building. Everything he's just said is categorically false.
God made
The studies
me
he's
with a
claiming
big
that have been written
nose.
weren't even on my plan. If you'd read my plan, Terry, you would know that. In fact, just yesterday, the Jefferson Institute came out with a scoring of your plan. It said it would cost Virginians $8 billion, nearly $5,500 per Virginian. By the way, if Terry McAuliffe is your next governor, get your checkbook out, because he's going to have to raise taxes for you. My plan, in fact, recognizes that our economy stalled under his leadership. The states around us have blown by us. We need to bring down the cost of living because the liberals in Richmond have been overtaxing Virginians to the tune of $2.6 billion. They're going to do it again, and that's your money, and Terry McAuliffe thinks it's his money. I'm going to give it back to you.
30 seconds.
First of all, we
that
have a
was
surplus
really
this year.
good.
And that's because of the funds that we got from the federal government, $14.3 billion. So don't think this is a permanent that you can do. You said you want to give the 2.6 back in tax cuts. Well, let me tell you how Virginia law works.
I
Half of it
understand
has
how
to go
it
to
works,
rainy day fund. It has to go to water
I understand
quality.
that, Terry.
It's not your money to give back. You should learn the law.
The
first.
$4.6 billion
But I'm
comes from
also
the federal
telling you
government, Terry.
the other
It's not.
thing. Excuse me, it's my turn.
You were talking about
your
your
turn. This isn't a Carlisle boardroom. It's my turn.
I know,
So
you're
let me tell you
better
this. So
than
what I would do and make sure that we continue to grow the economy, bring in jobs, that would create a huge economic surplus.
Mr. McAuliffe,
Terry cannot be taken seriously. His shoulders are just too narrow. He's not fucking extending his arms enough, and he's flailing too much. If he could ever do that at the same time, that's literally what he's doing. He's moving his hands a lot, but his arms aren't. So it's really creepy to
I gave you a
me.
little extra time because of the interruption, but now your time is up. I gave you a little extra time
His
because of the interruption, but now your time is up.
physiognomy is
Thank you.
Let me just ask one quick question about the business climate that often comes up in these discussions.
fine.
Would you support any law that weakened or repealed Virginia's right to work law? And just very quickly to each candidate.
The short answer is absolutely not. And my opponent will. He looked at the camera and he said, when the bill's going to come to his desk, he will sign it. And then every union endorsed him. And he's collected literally tens of millions of dollars from the unions for his campaigns. I'm going to protect right to work because if we lose right to work, it's going to be the death knell for Virginia business. And my opponent is going to get rid of it.
Mr. McAuliffe, final word on this.
First of all, Glenn always likes to bash the folks out there every day trying to make a living. I'm trying to raise the minimum wage. Glenn's against raising the minimum wage. Glenn has made hundreds of millions of dollars. And he doesn't want to give some home health care worker who's cleaning bedpans all day, get her $15 an hour and give her benefits. There's a huge difference here. I want to raise the minimum wage. I want to help the workers here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I'm for paid sick days. I think it is unbelievable that someone with COVID or a serious illness has to go into work because they can't afford not
Mr.
to go
McAuliffe,
into
your
work.
time is up.
Thank you.
Mr. Youngkin.
Yes, ma'am.
Former President Trump has endorsed your campaign, and you've embraced his endorsement. This month, Trump raised questions about the integrity of this election, as he has about his and other
Okay,
elections.
here
without
we
evidence.
go.
He said, quote, you know how they cheat in elections. The Virginia governor's election, you better watch it. You have a
better
close
not
race in
strike
Virginia,
my
but
channel
it's not
for this
close
shit,
if they
dude.
cheat. My question, do you believe there has been significant fraud in previous Virginia
Fuck.
elections, and do you agree with President Trump that Democrats may cheat in this one? You have 60 seconds.
So I do not believe there's been significant fraud in Virginia elections. But I believe this is a democracy issue we're talking about. Not a Republican issue, not a Democrat issue. Although I want to remind everybody that my opponent, when George W. Bush beat Al Gore, he stared into the screen and said, they took the president from us. And he never acknowledged that President Bush was a legitimately elected president. I've said over and over again that Joe Biden's our president. I wish he wasn't. I wish he handled Afghanistan better. I wish we didn't have runaway inflation. When
There
he
you
came to
go.
campaign with you, Terry, you embraced him. I think we need to invest in our election system, like Florida did after that hanging Chad incident, to the point where Florida's election system is trusted. It's trusted by all voters, and Virginians deserve that. And that's the kind of investment I'll make when I'm governor. I'll invest in making sure our voter rolls are updated. I'll ask everyone to show up to vote with a photo ID, and Virginians will trust our
Mr.
election
Youngkin,
system.
your time's up. You did say you didn't think there had been significant fraud in previous elections, but do you agree with former President Trump that Democrats may cheat in this one? Just yes or no?
No, I think we're going to have a clean, fair election, and I fully expect to win.
Thank you. Mr. McAuliffe, to watch your campaign ads, Virginia voters might well think Donald
When he
Trump is on the
loses.
ballot. When you had a chance during this debate to ask Mr. Youngkin a question, you mentioned Trump, as you have in many of your paid ads. My question, why have so many of your paid ads and your rhetoric mentioned Trump in an election focused on the people of Virginia, and an election that presumably should be focused on your own proposals for what you would do as governor?
Got
You have
him.
60 seconds.
Sure, because my opponent's a Trump wannabe. He's been endorsed by Donald Trump 3 times.
Wannabe.
He said, I'm honored to have his endorsement. He's quoted saying, so much of the reason why I'm running is because of Donald Trump. That's his quote. So he's the one who's inserted Donald Trump here, and we know the damage that Donald Trump has done to this country. Look at the damage he's done on vaccines. If he had taken this COVID crisis serious much earlier, hundreds of thousands of Virginians or Americans would be alive today, and thousands of Virginians. So he's the one who's inserted him. He's the one who said, so much of the reason I'm running is because of Donald Trump. He's following all Trump's policies. His economic advisor is Trump's economic advisor. So that's fair. But you know what? We're past all that. We've had a great 8-year run here. We have got, you look what's happened in this state over the last 8 years. Open and welcoming schools to everybody. Hundreds of thousands of new jobs.
It's
We
gone
moved
to
forward. We made our
shit
state
in the
open and welcoming. We're not going back.
last 8 years. What are you
And last thing I'll
talking
say,
about?
he spent his entire campaign talking
you.
about election integrity. It was
Thank
the only
you.
thing on
Thank
his
you, Mr.
website.
McCullough. I have
Election integrity.
Thank you, Mr. McCullough. I have the same follow-up question for each of you. Mr. Youngkin, you first. If the state certifies that you lost this election, even narrowly, will you pledge tonight to recognize Terry McAuliffe as the legitimately elected governor?
Absolutely. But I don't expect that to be the case. And the reason is that what Terry has done tonight is, once again, glossed over his real record. Over the last 8 years, let's just be clear, Virginia's created 44,000 jobs, not hundreds of thousands of jobs. And the states around us have created 6 to 8 times that amount. The states around us are winning, and Virginia has been losing, and that's the legacy that you left Virginia. Families are moving away faster than they're moving here because they're not the job opportunities they want, and the cost of
Mr.
living is
Youngkin,
too
your
high.
time is up.
And that's why my day one game plan
Mr.
is going to get
Youngkin,
Virginia
thank you.
moving.
Mr. McCullough, if the
That's
state
fine.
certifies, I'm going to ask you a
That was
question
good.
right now.
That was
If the
good.
state certifies that you lost this election, even narrowly, will you pledge tonight to recognize Glenn Youngkin as the legitimately elected governor? You have 30 seconds.
Sure, absolutely. But we're going to win, and we're going to win.
Why are his hands like that? This is, oh my god, he has like the penguin posture, bruh. Get your fucking shoulders straight.
Because we had a great
bruh.
record. When I was governor, he talked about his day one plan. His day one plan would be unleashed over.
This guy would get his ass
mandate
kicked in
vaccination.
school,
I remind you that when I was leaving office in April of 2017, I was invited to his conference. He sat there, praised me, and said, how did you do it? Governor, how did you create all those jobs? How did you make Virginia the great state? Those were his words at his conference in April of 2017.
His
I don't know
voice
what's happened
cracked.
with crazy
He
the last
sounds
4
like
years.
he's lying.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
McCullough. Thank you, Mr. McCullough. The next question will be posed by Candace Burns.
Right now, school districts in Virginia are exploring how to address race and gender in schools. Mr. McCullough, Virginia passed a law last year to better protect transgender and non-binary students, and the Department of
Oh,
Education issued
God.
expanded policies for public schools to follow starting this year, but there has been backlash. In Loudoun County, teachers who disagree with rules filed a lawsuit against the school system, and some school boards have rejected or delayed adopting the state's policies altogether after an outcry from parents. Should school board members who are elected by voters be allowed to make their own policies that best fit their communities without facing penalties?
Yeah, I've always felt the school boards have the pulse of the local community. They should be making their decisions. I hate all of this divisiveness that is going on today. I hate to see our children being demonized today. I just really dislike it. You know, I'm talking about building this big new economy like I did before. I can't do it without the best education system in the country. And I remind everybody here, we are the #1 state for business twice in the last 2 years. We're the first state in America to get it. We are the #1 state in America today for higher ed. We're #4 in America today for K-12. Those are facts. We're doing
What is
great,
that
but we need to make sure that we're
creepy
taking it to the
smile,
next level. I have a real plan,
Come
not one that's
on.
going to cut 43,000 teachers. I have a plan,
Wake
$2 billion.
up.
What I'll do is raise teacher pay above the national average for the first time ever. I promise every student in Virginia I'll have broadband to you within 2 years. I'll make sure we diversify our teacher base. But I want a school community that would love and respect one another. We're teaching the best education. I worked in a bipartisan way with these Republican legislators.
Diversify our teacher base. What? Like morally colored people as teachers? More liberal teachers? More gay teachers? That's fucking terrible. What does it even mean? Oh, we need Romanian accent laden teachers. Like, what is the... come on.
Just make sure we were adding more
Mr. McCullough,
science
your
and
time
math
has
into our
expired.
K-12 courses. Worked in a bipartisan way.
Red
Thank you.
flag
Thank you,
alert.
Mr.
man.
Mr. Youngkin, critical race theory, or CRT, is a term that has become controversial in school board meetings and caused confusion in terms of its definition. You have promised to ban CRT, and in recent interviews you have said, quote, critical race theory has moved into all schools in Virginia, but you provided little proof for this claim. Virginia's learning standards do not mention critical race theory, and there is no statewide list of schools that teach CRT that would allow for an objective count. So how do you define critical race theory, and can you explain how you would ensure diversity, equity, and inclusion in schools?
Yeah, thank you for this most important question. Critical race theory has been in our schools for quite a while. In fact, the first instance I can find is actually during Terry's time as governor, where the Board of Education ran a training session and, in fact, had a module teaching critical race theory in the classroom. You go to the Board of Education website today, and one of the recommended books is The Foundation of Critical Race Theory in Education. So to think that it's not in our schools is absolutely bogus. Now, the problem with critical race theory is that it teaches our children to actually view everything through a lens of race, in direct contravention to those immortal words of Dr. Martin Luther King, who asked us to judge one another based on the content of our character, not the color of our skin. I want our children to thrive. Mr. McAuliffe wants to lower standards in the schools and press forward with a leave every child behind education philosophy. I will preside
Mr.
over the
Youngkin, your time
largest
is up.
education budget in the history of
Thank you, Mr.
Virginia,
Youngkin.
and we're going to reestablish a standard of excellence
Mr.
in our
Youngkin, your time
schools.
has expired.
Mr. McCullough?
Pretty
His
solid.
education plan would cut 43,000 teachers.
It's not
And
true.
just, do your independent
How
analysis.
can you
on it.
stand there
And I
and keep
really
saying
hate, he's talking about critical race theory.
That really pisses Glenn off because it isn't true. I mean, he's saying 43,000. So he's studied these numbers, right? Like a complete disingenuous bitch that he is, bro. So Terry McAuliffe over here saying, oh, he'll cut education. Meanwhile, that's asinine. Oh, he'll stop it from growing as much as it has. Like as if there wasn't several millions of dollars you can cut from education and not, tell the difference. If you just took, for example, all the gender training and all that bullshit that's been added to the government in general in the last 20 years, you'd be saving billions of dollars on the federal level. So to say like, oh, he's cutting education, like that's probably a good thing, all in all. So come on.
It's not taught in our schools. But what I hate is this is a big dog whistle. I really hate it. It divides people. I'm about bringing people together. We have a great K-12. We're ranked 4th in the United States of America. 4th. But we got to do a lot of work. We have schools, 50% of our schools are 50 years old. I was in Bristol the other day, 87-year-old school. We got to fix that. We got to rebuild. Now we have all this money from the federal government, the American Rescue Plan, which Glenn said was unnecessary.
Mr.
I
McCullough,
thank
your time
you.
is up.
14 billion
Thank
to Virginia, 3 billion for schools. That's a good thing.
Mr.
And it's
Youngkin,
going to have 15 seconds, please. This is 30.
We're almost out of time, and we want to ask one final
Let's
question.
go to 15 here real quick.
Okay,
I'll go very,
15
very, very
seconds,
quickly. Mr. McAuliffe keeps mischaracterizing, in fact, lying about my education program. We're going to preside over the largest education budget in the history of Virginia. He doesn't like that fact, so he makes up his own. The problem is that today, over 80% of
Thank you,
black
Mr.
children
Youngkin.
and 70% of
I'm
Latino
sorry that
children
we want
cannot
to
pass the 8th grade
Mr. Youngkin, we want to make
math
sure
test,
we
and
save
that's his
time
legacy.
for the closing statements. We don't have time for a full question. I want to ask a question, 30 seconds each to respond. Virginia is a state with a long and complicated history. Last week, there were strong emotions when the statue of Robert E. Lee, President of the Confederacy, was removed from a place of honor in Richmond on Monument Avenue. What went through your mind when you saw that statue come down? Mr. McAuliffe, 30 seconds.
I was happy. They were signs of division and hate. When I was governor, I always tried to make this Commonwealth an open and welcoming place. I leaned in. I banned the Confederate flag from the Virginia license plate. I don't want any symbols of hope or racism or division. We are only going to be successful is if we work together, join together, get people vaccinated, invest in education, and recruit those jobs. But we're not going to recruit these jobs if we have someone who wants
Thank
to
you, Mr.
ban
McAuliffe.
abortions.
Mr. Youngkin, 30
and
seconds. What went through your mind
bigotry.
when you saw the statue of Robert E. Lee come down?
What I thought was the statement I heard from Terry McAuliffe when he was governor, that the statue of Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson should be left alone. I felt the Supreme Court decision reflected the law. Locally, the decision was made to bring the statue down. That's where I believe these decisions should be made. I think that statue should be in a museum or on a battlefield so we don't airbrush away our history. If we don't know our history, we don't learn our history, we're destined to repeat it. And I think this is a way to bring all Virginians together around a path
Thank you.
forward as opposed
Thank
to
you, Mr.
constantly
Youngkin.
looking back.
We
Like
want to preserve time for these closing statements. I know they're going to be great. Each candidate will now have
That's a
2
very
minutes to make a
safe
closing statement. And as a result of a coin
opinion. I
toss,
think that would
Mr. Youngkin,
help.
you'll go first.
Thank you. First, I'd like to
Good
thank my
answer.
amazing wife, Suzanne. You make me better every day. Thank you for being here.
Who fucking
Terry,
cares?
thank you for being here.
You bet, good to be with you.
My fellow Virginians, we live in turbulent and challenging times. My opponent wants to paint over that reality with myth-truths, with excuses, with extreme positions. He wants to distract you from those issues that are most important to Virginians today as we come together to build a better day. How do we work and live through this pandemic? How do we provide great education for our kids? How do we make our communities safe again? My opponent is very comfortable lying, but the numbers don't. Overtaxation and overregulation stalled out our economy when he was governor and it never recovered. Today, we are ranked 44th in the nation in job recovery. We have a 20-year high in murder rate, and yet my opponent embraces radical groups that want to defund police and close prisons.
I'm so
we watch our
bored
education
that I'm,
system
like,
fail our children because
not
he has sold
picking
out
my
to the
nose,
teachers'
I'm just
unions.
making
And the cost of living in
shit, like,
Virginia
sounds,
is
bro.
absolutely running away from us. Virginians, you have a choice. Do you want tired old recycled policies from a tired politician, or do you want to embrace someone new? A business leader who knows how to create
There you
jobs and
go.
get things done. On
There
day
you
one,
go.
we will cut your cost of living by reducing your taxes. We'll reinvest in law enforcement so that we have the best in the country. We'll reinvigorate our job market. We'll create 400,000 jobs and foster 10,000 new startups. We, in fact, are going to reestablish an expectation of excellence in our schools by investing the largest education budget in the history of Virginia. And we're going to make Virginia's government work for us, as opposed to telling us what to do. My fellow Virginians, it's about leadership. Tonight, I ask for your vote. I ask you to partner with me to make Virginia the best place in America to live and work and raise a family.
Thank you, Mr. Youngkin. Mr. McAuliffe, you have 2
Reasonable.
minutes.
Thank you. First, let me thank the Appalachian School of Law for having us here today, and thank all of you for being with us watching on TV. I have my wife here, Dorothy. I thank her, and through her efforts, 13 million more meals were served to needy children in my last year in office, and I thank her for that. Listen, COVID's tough. Most of the analysis say it'll be with us for another 18 months. You need someone with some experience who's done this job before to lead us through it. When I was governor before, I came in with an economy in chaos. Got to work, created 200,000 new jobs, personal income went up 14%. I did it by working in a bipartisan way. I worked in a bipartisan way on transportation, on education, on job creation, and so many other issues, on veterans. First state to end veteran homelessness when I was governor. Very proud of that. We worked together. I have 20 big plans. If you go to my website, 20 plans of what I'd like to do, real plans. And you look at education, $2 billion investment. We've got to pay our teachers above the national average for the first time ever. We've got to make sure that every child has access to broadband. On healthcare, I want to lower premiums, lower drug prices. As governor, I'll get us a Section 1332 waiver. I'll stand up our own marketplace, Virginia, and we'll be able to bring those premiums down. It's working together on these big issues why so many Republicans have actually endorsed me. Former delegates. Bill Kristol, one of the most conservative writers in America. Why? Terry has the experience of getting this done.
Bill Kristol, the most conservative. What? The fuck? You think I was gonna let that shit slide, bro? He deserves to get punched in the face for that shit, bro. In Minecraft, like what? Bill Kristol. That's like if I said I got endorsed by Bob Casey, the most liberal Democrat in the Senate. I just got endorsed by. I just got endorsed by Glenn Greenwald, the most communistic Democrat there is. Like, nah, shut the fuck up, dude. So gay.
And that's what we need here in Virginia, because we've got tough times ahead, and we can't go with a candidate who's too extreme. He's a Trump wannabe. He's endorsed by Donald Trump 3 times. He said he was honored to have his endorsement. He wants to ban abortions here in Virginia. The number one issue we talked about the entire campaign was election integrity.
Trump.
The big issue I'm talking about are jobs, economic development. That's how you grow, investing in education, lifting up healthcare. He's gone as far as to say, it's so much of the reason I'm running is because of Donald Trump. Well, let me be clear to all you in Virginia.
Thank you, Mr.
I'm
McAuliffe.
running for you. Thank you
Mr.
very much,
McAuliffe.
and please vote.
Thank you both. That concludes this illuminating debate. Our thanks to the Appalachian School of Law and to Terry McAuliffe and Glenn
Rent-free
Youngkin.
in
On behalf
a
of Candace, Bob, and myself, our thanks also to the voters of Virginia for watching and for voting. Early voting begins tomorrow, and Election Day is November 2nd. Good night.
Oh, the hype mod. All right. Terry was wearing his fucking lips today, huh? So they're shaking hands. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, that was the video. Well, not all of it. I'll guess I'll give you a little bit of a summary. Okay, guys. Yes. So pretty good. Glenn Youngkin did end up winning. I was expecting the performance to be a 6 out of 10 for Glenn. It turned out to be more like a 7.5, maybe an 8 out of 10. And Terry, I was expecting to do like a 4. He ended up doing a 3. Yeah, he was a shit show. Not that bad, but like noticeably, like, you suck, dude. And it's not like he died or anything on the stage, but he was just crap. So, is this going to change the tides? I think that Glenn Youngkin's odds of winning the governorship went from, let's say, 5% to maybe 15%. So, I mean, that's noticeable, definitely. Is it going to change the result? Probably not. So, if the race is going to end up within 2 or 3, yeah, maybe. But if not, then no. And I personally think that Terry McAuliffe unfortunately will win by more than 3 in 2021 in November. So, I mean, just keep that in mind. And again, I don't wish that upon Virginia, but I mean, it's probably bound to happen given the trend. So, because of that, it looks pretty lopsided. And yeah, and the moderator, 90% of the questions were slanted towards the Democrats in terms of being favorable and how she's framing it all. And I think that's very disingenuous for them to have like a non-biased debate. Meanwhile, have a Democratic sympathizer as the moderator. I don't think it's fair. And all the slander and all the mischaracterizations of Trump and his supporters and Youngkin, it's, fucking disgusting. And the left needs to get its shit together. It's a mess. And Terry McAuliffe is a fucking snake. He's a leech. And he's, physiognomy bad. He looks evil. His hand gestures are terrible. He's whack. His posture is bad. He's creepy. He's shite. He's shit, bro. He's whack. And Glenn, Glenn's a little, moderate, too moderate. He's got Mitt Romney syndrome. He's playing it too safe, but at the same time, he kind of needs to win. Not even a purple state, but a blue-leaning state. So we'll see if that pays off, Cotton. So, anyways, yeah. In summary, Glenn did a little bit better than I expected. Terry did a little worse. Overall, I think this will be a slight boost to Glenn Youngkin's very abysmal chances of winning the governorship. Comment down below what you think below and whether or not I should make more videos that are reaction oriented or if I shouldn't. And from 1 to 10, how sick do I sound? Because I have a stuffy nose right now. And so keep that in mind. Okay, bye.